Extracts from the book Believe It, Do It by David Late. Published by Shieldcrest Publishing in 2016, this book has a recommended retail price of £12 but is currently being sold for just £5, with all of the proceeds going to the national charity Dreams Come True, who make the dreams come true for seriously ill and terminally ill children. You know, you can significantly enhance your life, increase your happiness and make your dreams come true, no matter your age, education or present circumstance. Open this book, open your mind. You may be surprised by what you will find, because sometimes just a few words can lead to dramatic changes. Can this book help you? Open up and see. Good luck. Chapter 7. Imagination. Live out of your imagination, not your history. Stephen Covey. Imagination creates reality. Richard Wagner. Your imagination is a preview of life's coming attractions. Albert Einstein. Begin with the end in mind. Stephen Covey. You know, as a human being, you possess something that no other species on this earth possesses, and that's imagination. So make sure that you use yours. If you can see it, you can achieve it. Retain the mind of a child, because there are no limits to a child's imagination. They imagine the impossible and surprise us time and time again, and visualization is the key. You cannot, for example, just go and grab some bricks and mortar and start building a house in the middle of a field. You have to start with a detailed plan, and that's visualization. Logic will get you from A to Z. Imagination will take you everywhere. Albert Einstein. And here's some words from a very wise unknown person. Having the mind of a child, naivety and undying belief are 3 requirements for successful use of the imagination. Though if the mind of a child is lacking, all is lost. The most important tool that life has given you to help you to live a great life is your imagination. Your imagination is like the universe. It is limitless. It has no boundaries. It has no rules to obey. It has no logic. Your imagination is your creative engine room. It is the starting point. It is where everything that you do or become begins. Everything that exists in life that has ever been built or that has ever been achieved has been the result of someone's imagination. All that you are and all that you will ever be is a direct result of your thoughts, your dreams, the decisions that you make and the actions that you take. David Late, the author. Boom. Before anything comes into physical being, anything, it has to be conceived in someone's mind, in someone's imagination. Someone has had to have seen it in their mind's eye, to have thought about it, to have dreamed about it. Imagination, it craves freedom. Freedom to work its magic without the restraints and constraints which we humans can give it. Fear and negativity stifle creativity. This is the reason why a child's imagination runs wild. This is the reason why children can be anybody they want to be, because life has not had the chance to condition fear and negativity into them. Their imagination has not been shackled with logic or sense, so their thoughts can run free and wild. Unlike that of an adult, whose imagination is held back by the ball and chain of reality. A child's imagination is so vivid that it allows them to be anybody they want to be in the moment. If they decide they are a cowboy, they are a cowboy. If they want to be fighting a tiger, they are fighting a tiger. Children have the ability to live in their mind's eye. Therefore, when using your imagination, it is vitally important, it is imperative that you retain the mind of a child, that you live in the land where anything can happen, where you have unlimited resources, where everything is going to go your way and where you are a success. Apply your imagination to anything that comes your way in life, to your dreams and to your challenges. Cast aside the constraints that everyday living presents, or that you perceive everyday living presents. Often, these constraints do not exist. The problem is that most adults live in their past and in their present. When looking into their future, that is all they can see. They walk in fear and not in faith. So they stop using their imagination. And as a consequence, they close down their life. No one has the right to say that you can't do what you want to do, or be who you want to be. You have the right to be successful, and you were born with greatness in you. We all were. And you were born with the tools to be able to find your success. Your imagination allows you to see it before it actually happens. It allows you to see what and who you are going to be. And you can see yourself becoming that person you want to be. So look into your future. Who do you want to be? What do you want to do? Once you've decided, plan the steps that you need to take. Be very precise. Write them down. The key is then to walk in faith. Go forward with undying belief. You have to keep on imagining, keep on dreaming. Even when you look around and don't see anything changing. Your faith that you will be what you want to be will keep you going through the setbacks, through the pain and through the doubt. When you keep imagining it, when you keep seeing it, when you keep chasing it and you never quit on it, you will make it happen. Remember, if you don't use your imagination, you will lose it. Some advice from the author, David Late. Imagine your wildest dreams and always operate with mindsight, and life will give you a helping hand. Now here's a true story. A true story of two men, both working in retail as deputy managers, having spent many years in their respective companies. Life delivers the threat of redundancy to both men. One man places the threat of redundancy at the forefront of his mind, thus it dominates his thinking. He dwells constantly on the threat of redundancy. He starts to feel sorry for himself. He looks pessimistically into his future. He tells himself that the axe of redundancy will swing his way. He convinces himself that he will lose his job, that there will be no future for him, that once he loses his job, he will not get another one. He develops a depressed state of mind and attitude, and with little motivation, he starts to give up on the job. He stays in his position, but he quits. He starts holding pity parties with colleagues, where he whines, bitches and moans about his circumstance, whinging about how badly the company is treating him, moaning on and on about how unfair it all is. What he doesn't realise is that his colleagues at the end of the day don't really care, because they are just pleased that it's happening to him and not to them. All that his negative outlook achieves is to alienate him in his company. His performance drops dramatically. However, whilst the threat of redundancy looms over his head, there is also the possibility that if he survives the redundancy process, there is a real opportunity of a promotion to a store manager. But all he can see and all that he focuses on is the fact that he will be made redundant and that he has no future. As his poor mentality develops and grows, consuming his mind, his work performance and his reputation drop with all of those around him. His negative traits come to the fore. Worry and anxiety eat him up and he develops bad mental habits. The prophecy which he has set for himself becomes self-fulfilling. He places himself in a position where his performance results in his fears coming true and he is made redundant. Redundancy is not the biggest issue that he now has to face. The bigger issue for this man as he goes forth into his future is the fact that he continues to view his future with eyesight. All he can see and all that he believes is that his present circumstance is his future and that there is no future for him. The second man, facing the same circumstances, the same threat of redundancy, views his circumstance with mindsight. He determines to wait and see if the axe of redundancy will fall his way, because he knows his worth. He understands that if he is to lose his job, he has the experience and capability to go out into the world and to get another job. That there may be a blip in his working future, but it will be only a blip, and at the end of the day, he will be all right. So he pushes the threat of job loss to the back of his mind. He carries on in his role, giving the best of himself to his business, retaining his focus, his enthusiasm, and his pride. He walks with his head held high, retaining his pride and his integrity. He maintains his motivation and inspiration of others. Now, a former work colleague arranges to hold a business meeting in the coffee shop, which is part of this man's remit. As his former colleague is conducting her meeting in the coffee shop, the man sees her and recognises her. He politely interrupts her meeting to say hello, and they engage in conversation. They spend a little time talking about the past and the colleagues they worked with catching up as you do. The man talks about his present job. He talks with pride and purpose about his role and the results that he and his team have delivered, and about the challenges that exist and the plans that are in place to overcome them. As the two of them talk, the woman's colleague sits and listens. He is thoroughly impressed by this man, impressed by his attitude, his mentality, and his attitude. He thinks to himself that this is exactly the type of manager that we need in our business. As a conversation nears its end, the man states, just as a passing comment, that there is going to be a round of redundancy in his company and that he believes that redundancy may come his way. The woman's colleague is blown away by this revelation, blown away by the commitment and the mentality that this man retains and displays in his role and for his company despite an uncertain future. As it turns out, the two colleagues were holding a meeting about the recruitment needs for their business. They were looking to recruit a store manager in their business. To cut a long story short, the man was offered and accepted a job as a store manager with their company. In the face of adversity, because this man maintained the vision, belief and positivity that Mindsight brings, life rolled up, the universe aligned the signs, the stars in this man's favour, and he stepped from one company to another with no period of unemployment into a more senior role with an increased wage, taking with him a nice redundancy package. As opposed to the other man, who chose to view his present and future circumstance with eyesight, who chose to see that doom, gloom and damnation were his future, who chose to allow negativity to invade his mind, to affect his outlook, his performance and his working relationships, who chose to let his thinking, his dreams become a negative prophecy, who then went forward into his life and fulfilled that negative prophecy. So at all cost, and here's the learning, view your future with the positivity that Mindsight brings. And remember these words by David Moffat: we are only constrained by the boundaries of our imagination. Boom.